am Adi Anisa. I am an MBBS student from Nepal Medical College, and in this video, I will be talking about renal tumors and especially the benign tumors of the kidney. Whenever we are talking about the tumors in the kidney, it can be a benign tumor or it can be a malignant tumors. So, tumors in the kidney can be benign in nature or it can be malignant in nature. And regarding the malignant tumors, the most common tumor that you see in the kidney in case of child is Wilms tumor. Wilms tumor. The most common, the malignant tumor that you see in the adult is renal cell carcinoma, and it is approximately 80% of all the malignant tumors that you appreciate in the kidney in an adult. And the third tumor that I would be liking to, that is also important, is your urothelial cancers. So urothelial cancers that usually arises from the urothelium that is present in the renal pelvis or the calyceal system, right? Regarding the benign tumors will, there are a lot of things to be studied in pathology, and if you start mugging up everything bit of detail, then it would be very volatile, eh? So I would like to give you very important points regarding the benign tumors which are clinically relevant, and that would be very important to you, that will be asking in the board examinations or even in the PG entrance examination. So I'll be discussing about the most important point only in this video. But mind you, there are a lot of detail to be studied if in case of renal tumors. But in this video, I'll be giving you a basic overall on the benign tumors, which are very clinically important. And these tumors are angiomyolipoma. So the first tumor that I will be discussing is angiomyolipoma. The next tumor is oncocytoma. Oncocytoma. And the third tumor that I'll be discussing is renal papillary adenoma. So renal papillary adenoma. So let me begin with angiolipoma. So before that, what I have already discussed, let us just revise. So tumors of the kidney can be both benign in nature and malignant in nature, and that usually arises in the kidney. The most common form of malignant tumor is renal cell carcinoma, and it is followed by Wilms tumor. But Wilms tumor is the most common form of cancer in case of child, and also it is followed by urothelial cancer, and that is usually seen in the calyces and the pelvis of the kidney. So let us begin with the benign tumors, and the first benign tumor that I would like to discuss is angiomyolipoma. So it is the tumor that consists of three different cell types, and the three different cell types that can be appreciated histologically is blood vessels, muscles, and lipid, hence called as angiomyolipoma. Okay? So it all arises from the epithelial cell of the kidney. So it all arises from the epithelial cell lining the renal cells or lining the tubules of the kidney, which are differentiated into these three variant of cells. Right? So basically, what we know is that kidney is mesenchymal in origin, and it usually develops from intermediate mesoderm. And kidney, as it develops from intermediate mesoderm, and the mesenchymal components get differentiated. It gets differentiated into the epithelial component, which will give rise to the tubules and the glomeruli of the kidney. And one of the genes that is responsible for the differentiation is a tumor suppressor gene, and it does not have a predominant role like Wilms tumor gene, but it also has some slight bit of role. And this tumor suppressor gene that has a slight role in the differentiation is TSC1 and TSC2 gene. Okay? And this, whenever you have a germline mutation in this gene, TSC1 gene, tuberous sclerosis 1 gene, and TSC2 gene, basically these are tumor suppressor gene, and this condition is known as tuberous sclerosis. So it is known as tuberous. It is known as tuberous sclerosis. Right? So whenever you see a patient having a germline mutation in tuberous sclerosis, you will be associating cancer that occurs in the kidney of this patient, and that is usually angiomyolipoma. But it is not just it. It is this disease, that is tuberous sclerosis. It is associated with various other lesions, and these lesions can occur in the skin of a person. It can occur in the kidney. It can manifest in the heart, and it can also manifest within the central nervous system, especially at the cortex, at the level of the cortex, especially your cerebral cortex. So in the skin, it results into formation of a patch, and this patch is usually hyperpigmented patch. And the next manifestation in the kidney, it usually result in angiomyolipoma. The third manifestation that we will be seeing in the heart is rhabdomyoma. And the fourth manifestation that you will be seeing in the central nervous system is that this patient has increased tendency to develop seizures. So they have increased tendency to develop seizures or epilepsy. And this is all the high yield points that you should be knowing about the angiomyolipoma. So angiomyolipoma, it is a benign tumor, epithelial tumor to be and that usually consists of vessels, smooth muscles, and fat. Hence the name angiomyolipoma. It is in this patient usually present. It is present in 25 to 50% of the patient having tuberous sclerosis, where there is a mutation in TSC1 or TSC2 tumor suppressor gene, and it is characterized by lesion not just in the kidney but also in the cerebral cortex, and that will be manifesting with epilepsy or seizures, or also with mental retardation. And also, I have said it has variety of skin abnormalities leading to formation of a hyperpigmented patch in the skin with benign tumors at other sites, especially in the heart, resulting to formation of rhabdomyoma that I have already discussed. And the only reason why I am telling you about this tumor is angiolipoma has a blood vessel component, and this blood vessel component tend to get ruptured, and because of this, it will be manifesting with massive hemorrhage within the abdomen. So it has increased risk of hemorrhage. Right? So it has a patient has a susceptibility to develop spontaneous hemorrhage in patients with angiomyolipoma. And what are the things you should not forget? There is a mutation of TSC1 gene and TSC2 gene, tuberous sclerosis, the other manifestation of tuberous sclerosis. Along with that, the epithelial components they are derived from in case of angiomyolipoma, along with the risk of spontaneous hemorrhage, and that should be all known regarding angiomyolipoma. So the next benign tumor that I would like to discuss with you is about oncocytoma. So the name itself says oma and oncocytes. So the name itself says there is oma and there is oncocyte. So it is a benign tumor which usually consists of oncocytic cells. So what are these oncocyte cells? These are actually, it is a metaplastic change. It is a metaplastic change. So what do you understand by the term metaplasia? It we have already discussed in the first year pathology, that we know that whenever there is a severe form of stress to a epithelial cell, so if this is a epithelial cell, so wherever there is a severe form of stress to this epithelial cell, then this epithelial cell will undergo a series of changes where there will be a change into the pattern of stem cell differentiation, and that is a form of adaptation of this cell, and this will result into a formation of new cells which are actually different from their original cells, and this condition is known as metaplasia. So similarly, whenever there is a mutation in the cell, or even whenever there is the kidney is itself strained in case of severe stress, then there is formation of metaplastic changes, and this metaplastic changes is in the form of oncocytes, and these oncocytes are usually a very large cell, and this cell are in case of oncocytoma has a benign nucleus, so it is a very normal nucleus, and this is a very large cell with having a normal nucleus. But the main thing about this cell is that there is a presence of eosinophilic granules in these cells. And this eosinophilic granule in this cell is actually, it is a mitochondria. So it is a large cell having homogeneous and eosinophilic cytoplasm and granular cytoplasm. And that is usually consisting of mitochondria. And this cell is known as oncocytes. So oncocyte, you should know there is a large cell, it is eosinophilic, it is granular, and it is having mitochondria in the itself. So because and why I am talking about oncocytoma as a benign tumor is that because in case of oncocytoma, so this histological pattern is very similar to a variant of renal cell carcinoma, and that is known as a chromophobe variant. Chromophobe variant. So whenever you suspect histology and you see oncocytes in that, then it is not sure that you will be having oncocytoma. It can also be a renal cell carcinoma variant, and that is known as chromophobe cell carcinoma. And how do we differentiate between this oncocytoma and chromophobe variant of renal cell carcinoma is via the histology, is via only some of the special staining techniques, and that is known as Hell's colloidal iron. So it is known as Hell's colloidal iron technique. And while doing this stain, the chromophobe variant of renal cell carcinoma will be staining positive, whereas oncocytoma will be staining negative in this test. So what is the characteristic finding in this oncocytoma is the histological pattern, and it stains negative with Hell's colloidal iron. And whenever we see the morphology of this tumor, it is a very well circumscribed mass, and due to the oncocytes, and the oncocyte is due to presence of mitochondria, and this usually give presence of a mitochondria will give presence of a brown color to the tumor. Hence the tumor will be grossly tan to brown in color, and especially whenever you smoke a meat, then you will get a mahogany color, and that the similar happens to the kidney, and the color of the kidney will be looking like a mahogany color as well. And in the kidney you will be appreciating a tan to brown color or mahogany color, and there will be presence of a central stellate star-shaped scar. So there will be a presence of central stellate cell, or you can also say a star-shaped scar, right? And the origin of this tumor cell is from the collecting duct, and in the collecting duct we have the intercalated cell, and usually the intercalated cell will secrete acid in the tubules, and it requires a lot of ATP. And we can remember by the fact that to require ATP we need a lot of mitochondria, and hence there is a stressful condition as well. So you should be knowing the site of origin, and it is also associated with the loss of chromosome, or we also known as it is also known as aneuploidy. So it is also known as aneuploidy, and aneuploidy means loss of chromosome. Especially whenever you associate oncocytoma, there is a loss of chromosome number 1 or Y chromosome as well. So this is all about oncocytoma. So in oncocytoma, it is an epithelial tumor, and it is usually composed of a large eosinophilic cell having granular cytoplasm, and pink color eosinophil again, or granular cytoplasm having a lot of mitochondria, and it has a nucleus, and that is a small round and benign appearing nucleus with a large nucleoli. Although it is thought to be arise from the intercalated duct of the collecting duct, intercalated cells of the collecting duct that I have already discussed. And oncocytoma, it compromises of 5 to 15% of surgically resected neoplasm of the kidney. And whenever you see the kidney grossly, you can appreciate the tan brown color or mahogany brown color, and that is relatively homogeneous, and it is very well encapsulated, that I've already discussed. And the size of kidney can be up to the 12 centimeter in the diameter. And you should know about the histological finding that you appreciate in case of oncocytoma as well. And why you should know oncocytoma? Because you should be able to differentiate oncocytoma from the chromophobe variant of renal cell carcinoma. And one of the mains I have discussed is via the Hell's colloidal iron staining technique, and this you should be knowing about. And the last benign tumor that we'll be discussing in this video is about renal papillary adenoma. So renal papillary adenoma. So what are the important fact why I'm discussing this tumor with you is because when this renal papillary adenoma exceeds more than 3 centimeter in diameter, when the mass will exceed more than 3 centimeter in diameter, it has a very high chance that it will be converted into malignant tumor. So it is one of the benign tumor which has a very high chance of malignancy, and it is also considered as a pre-malignant condition as well. So it is considered as a pre-malignant condition, and when the size is greater than 3 centimeter, it has a very high chance to spread to the other parts. Hence, the term metastasis is given to it. And when there is metastasis, it is the hallmark of malignancy, and renal papillary adenoma is very likely to be considered to be converted into a cancer. So renal papillary adenoma, when you see the tumor, it is usually a yellow in color, and typically this tumor will arise from the cortex. So it will be arising from the cortex, especially at the upper pole of the cortex of the kidney. So renal papillary adenoma is a small and discrete adenoma which arises from the renal tubular epithelium, and it is usually found commonly in 7 to 22% of the autopsy. That you should not be just it is a point of interest that I said. It is not so important MCQ, so you don't try to remember this percentage, right? So it is most frequently papillary, and therefore hence it is known as papillary adenoma. So renal adenoma, the histologically it presents with papilla, hence the name known as renal papillary adenoma. So they are very small tumors and usually less than 0.5 centimeter into diameter. But when it exceeds more than 3 centimeter, it is likely to have metastasis via invasion into the renal vein, and hence and can convert into a malignant tumor. And it is, as I said, it will be present in the cortex more commonly, and almost it is always present in the cortex, and it will present with a pale yellow mass, as I've already discussed, with a discrete and well circumscribed nodules. And it is composed, and as the name suggests, papilla, so it is composed of branching papillomatous structure and numerous complex fronds. So this fronds actually means a finger-like pattern, right? And also there can be, we can appreciate tubules, gland, and cords or sheaths of the cell can also be appreciated. And the lining epithelium is cuboidal to polygonal in shape, and it is regular, small, and having small central nuclei with scanty cytoplasm, and there is no presence of atypia. But if the tumor gains successive mutations, then it is very likely to get converted into a renal cell cancer. And that is why I'm discussing with you about these all three tumors and with their subsequent important clinical parameters why you should be knowing. And this was my motive of making this video on benign tumors. So as I've said, renal tumors can be benign and it can be malignant. And in the next video, we'll be discussing about the malignant tumors. We have already made a video on Wilms tumor, and in the next video, we'll be discussing in two subsequent lectures. In the first lecture, I'll be discussing about the the several genetic mutations, or even we can discuss about the several form of familial cancer that you appreciate with renal tumors. And in the last video about the renal cell cancer, we'll be discussing about about the individual tumor and their histological parameters as well. Thank you very much for your patient listening.